In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a single box plot using ggplot2. To begin, make sure your data set is loaded in. For us, that's the Hollywood Movies 2011 data set, as well as make sure that ggplot2 is loaded. So those are the first 5 lines of this script. Next, we need to work on drawing this box plot. So that's lines 7 through 12 of the script available online. To begin, we need to create our base layer, which is the first row of code here, or the first line of code here. To begin, we specify the data set, just like every other plot that we make using ggplot2. It's the mapping where things start to differ. Instead of specifying an x or a y variable here for a box plot, we need to specify that the variable of interest is the world gross, because we're going to create a box plot of the world gross ticket sales for these movies in 2011. Now that's the big change, so make sure you grapple with that. We're going to add another layer, and that layer is going to be the box plot geometry, which is pretty simple. Now let's just see what happens if we run lines 8 and 9. So we see what happens. Well, we have a reasonable y-axis label, except we might want to reformat it with a space and put units there. And now we have this var and x, and that's where we need some work done. So we want to get rid of this x label here. We want to format the y label world gross, and that's exactly what we do in the next line of code. So line 10 uses the labs function, or the labs layer, and says we're going to put nothing in the x label. So that's just open and close quotes, and then we're going to use world gross in millions as our y label. So now if we just look at that, what happens? Well, it's formatted relatively nicely. And then the rest of this is just to polish the plot a little bit. Adding line 11, this scale x discrete, breaks equals null. What we can see is that we no longer have that vertical line running down here. So if you look at the last plot, you see that it broke the axis there unnecessarily, so we remove that. And then finally, the final layer in line 12 says we're going to flip this so that we can read this box plot a little bit easier, because vertical comparisons with that axis are just going to be that much easier. This is how you create a single box plot in ggplot2.